Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal this Thursday. I hope the week is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. We, of course, motoring towards the weekend and the halfway stage of this final international break of 2024. And the internationals do start today. We've got Arsenal players in action to keep us entertained. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Got lots to discuss, though, in today's show. We're going to talk about injuries. Of course, Ben White news broke yesterday afternoon about him having to have a knee operation. I spoke about it with James on Inside Arsenal Extra Time yesterday, but I will discuss it a little bit more in today's show as well. But we're going to focus on better injury news as well regarding Riccardo Calafiori and possibly Takehiro Tomiyasu as well, which maybe will soften the blow in terms of Ben White's absence. We're going to talk about Alexander Isak. He's been talking about the rumours linking him with a possible move to Arsenal. Slight spoiler on that. He didn't say much, but maybe it's still worth discussing. Anyway, going to talk about Harry Kane as well, who I think has got himself in a little bit of a muddle with those comments he has made about England players dropping out of the England squad during this international break. Not sure it was the best of words from Harry Kane, even if maybe his heart was in the right place the way he said it. So we're going to talk about that as well. So let's get started. We're going to start on injury news. Obviously, the Ben White news that broke yesterday was a blow. There's no doubt about it. He's been carrying this knee injury for a while. I think it's been pretty evident from how he's been playing so far this season. He's been playing within himself. He's not been 100% fit, but he's been playing through the pain because of all the injuries that Arsenal have had. And I think the focus was always like, let's get through those really difficult fixtures while we've been missing a lot of players. But this is the international break now when we've got some nicer fixtures afterwards. When some of the players are coming back, this is a time to get you under knife and get this knee sorted. We don't know exactly how long he's going to be out for yet. Obviously, we've seen some of the time frames that are being banded around. I can't confirm that's a definite or not, but he's going to be out for a while. And the good thing is, potentially, the Riccardo Calafiori could well be back after the international break. And if he's not back for Forest, then he's going to be back very, very soon after that, barring any late setbacks. His progress is going pretty well in terms of his recovery, and Arsenal are very hopeful that he will be back after the international break, which will be a huge boost, no doubt about it. And Takehiro Tomiyasu as well is in a similar boat to Calafiori. Of course, we're always a little bit, you've got to be a little bit sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think of it when it comes to Tomiyasu and injuries. But you've got to be a little bit cautious. There you go. Plucked it out of nowhere. You've got to be a bit cautious with Tommy because you never know when he's going to break down or not. But fingers crossed, at the moment he seems to be on the right track, and the aim is that he will be back, similar to Calafiori, if not immediately after international break, but very, very soon after the international break. And that will be a big, big boost given the Ben White news. We've obviously got Urian Timber who can cover for Ben White and is a fantastic right back. It's his best position. The few times we've actually seen him play in his best position during Timber, he's looked very, very good over there. And having Calafiori back obviously just makes that even more easier because it's just an easy back four to pick, isn't it? It's Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. If Tomiyasu's back as well, you've got that option down the right hand side. So it is a boost, and I can't, and we've talked a lot about Martin Odegaard being missing and how much Arsenal have missed that. And I know Calafiori is a very, very new player, and we haven't got that much of a sample size to work with when it comes to him. But from what I've seen from him when he's been at Arsenal, I think he's definitely been missed. His absence has definitely been felt in the build-up in that left-hand side. Him and Martinelli, I felt, had really started to sort of strike up a decent partnership down that side, and then suddenly it was taken away just as it was getting going. And the way Arsenal build up with Calafiori coming into those central areas, I think his absence has definitely been felt. So it'll be a big, big boost to get him back, and especially at the time when Ben White is injured. The thing with Ben White now is, and I think I've got a comment here. Here we go. One from Lidge says, Partey now the backup right back, surely with Rice at 6, Marino and Odegaard as 8. So my big concern is that Thomas Partey becomes Arsenal's right back now that Ben White is injured. I really hope that doesn't happen. He's played okay when he's played there this season, but if you have Jury and Timber, you don't need to put Ben White at right back because you don't need to keep Timber at left back because you've got about 4 different players who can play a left back, especially for these fixtures that you've got coming up into the after the international break. You know, Zinchenko is still a very good player. Kivior is still a very good player in an international. Those two cost £50 million, over £50 million to bring to the club. If you're not playing one of those two and you're moving Jurriën Timber out of position to play at left back and you're moving Thomas Partey out of position to play at right back to cover for the injured Ben White, then there's a real problem there, I think, with how you're viewing your squad. You know, Arsenal have got a decent squad, but it just has to be used. And players have to be used in the right positions, in my opinion. So I think I'd be really, really frustrated after the international break if that's what Mikel Arteta goes for. I highly doubt it. Like I said, Calafiori's return will probably lessen the possibility of that happening. But if we have to go even 2-3 games before Calafiori comes back, and the route that Arteta goes down to cover for Ben White is moving Timber to left back and then playing Partey at right back for those games, I'd be incredibly disappointed with it, because you've got 3 different options at left back you could play while keeping Timber at right back to cover for Ben White. You've got Kivior, Zinchenko, Miles Lewis-Skelly. Play one of those and keep Jurriën Timber at right back. So yeah, I'd be very concerned, Lidgi, if this was the route that Mikel Arteta goes down. He's got plenty of options to cover for Ben White, plenty of options, and he needs to use them in the right positions, because it's just getting annoying playing players out of position now to cover for injury. So I really, really hope that is not the route that he goes down. Right, let's talk about this now, because this is interesting. Now, if you haven't heard it yet, Harry Kane was talking. He met up for England duty, obviously, and he was talking to ITV Sport yesterday. And he was asked about the players who have pulled out from this international break. I think it's 7 or maybe 8, because someone pulled out yesterday. I can't remember who it was, to make it 8. And Kane was asked about it. And this is what he said. He said, "I think England comes before anything. England comes before club. England is the most important thing you play as a professional footballer." And Gareth was hot on that. And he wasn't afraid to make decisions if, that started to drift from certain players. He was then asked if the desire to play for England has drifted a bit in this international break because of the amount of, and that is, it's evident by the fact that so many players have pulled out. And he said, yes, it is a shame this week. Obviously, I think it's a tough period of the season. Maybe that's been taken advantage of a little bit. I don't really like it, if I'm honest. I think England comes before anything, any club situation. So those are the words of Harry Kane, the England captain. Now, I get what he is saying in a way, and obviously he is England captain. He is the face of the England national team. And so I would say that his heart is probably in the right place with the message he is trying to send out there. But I think he's got himself into a little bit of a muddle with this one. And I'm not sure how well that's going to go down with the players who have pulled out, because you're tarring everyone with the same brush. Maybe some have used the fact that Thomas Tuchel hasn't been appointed or isn't in place for these 2 games yet, and use that as an excuse. But you can't tar every single player with the same brush. And I'm talking specifically about Arsenal players here. Declan Rice obviously played with a broken toe against Chelsea. You can't then go and link up with England. It just can't. You cannot do it. He didn't even finish. He couldn't finish the game against Chelsea. Bukayo Saka couldn't finish the game. He limped off when it was still 1-1 and Arsenal going for the win. Mikel Arteta would not be taking Bukayo Saka off at 1-0, at 1-1 against Chelsea when Arsenal desperately need a win. Take him off with about 20 minutes to go, whatever it was, just because it's a plan to get him out of England duty for the next 2 weeks. Of course he wouldn't. He wanted to win the game, and you leave Bukayo Saka on if you're going to do that. So they're 2 players who are genuinely injured, couldn't finish their games. Trent Alexander-Arnold, the same. I think he went off after about 20 minutes for England with a hamstring injury. So I think it's a bit harsh on Harry Kane to then almost sort of point the finger at those guys, because he doesn't name specific players. He just speaks about the group, really, of the players who've pulled out. Declan, no England player has played more minutes for England than Declan Rice since the start of last season. And Bukayo Saka is not far behind. They always play. They always stay on. They pretty much always play 90 minutes, no matter the situation. The amount of times that we've all sat here thinking Bukayo Saka shouldn't be playing for England because he's got an injury, and yet he does, and he starts and he plays the whole game. So I just felt it was poor from Kane, a poor choice of comment, a poor choice of words, and the way he said it, even if maybe I could understand the message he was sending out. And I'm sure the likes of Rice, Saka, Trent are sort of sitting at home and saw those comments and thought, come off it, Harry. Don't point the finger at me like that. And I didn't think it was great from the England captain, I have to say. Love to get your thoughts on that, by the way, into the comments below. Right, we're going to talk about Alexander Isak now. And he's over on international duty for Sweden, of course. And he was asked specifically about the Arsenal rumours and the fact that Arsenal said to be interested in him. And he said, throughout my career, I have never talked or really commented on the move rumours during the season. There have been many such years where it's been talked about, but it doesn't affect me. He was then asked about his contract situation at Newcastle and the fact that those contract talks seem to have stalled, and that potentially the stories are that he might be on the lookout for a move at the end of the season. He just says, I'm commenting on my situation in Newcastle and I've never had a problem there. I'm fully focused on my task there and that we will have a fantastic season. There are still great opportunities for that. I have no thoughts about anything else. So that's what Alexander Isak has been saying about his future. You all know my thoughts on Alexander Isak. He would absolutely be my pick to come to Arsenal, although Victor Gyökeres is slowly muscling his way into that picture at the front of my queue with his performances for Sporting over the last couple of seasons, especially in the Champions League. But I love Alexander Isak. I think he's shown how many goals he can score in the Premier League. He's perfectly suited for the way Arsenal want to play. He can play as a striker. He can play off the left. His pressing is fantastic. He works so hard. He just ticks all of the boxes to be a really successful forward and to someone who would come in and absolutely raise the level at Arsenal and make them a better team if he's in that side. You know, I love Kai Havertz. I love what he's doing. But if you give me a choice of your first choice, number 9 of Isak or Kai Havertz, and it's Alexander Isak all day long. But that's not to say, you know, I still absolutely think Kai Havertz has got a huge part to play at Arsenal. I think he's done brilliant since he's come here, and I love watching him play. But Alexander Isak for me is just, if you're looking at the team and you're looking, how do you raise the level in the next transfer window, summer window? I'm not talking about January, obviously. Isak absolutely does that when you talk about leading the line. I've no doubt. I've seen so much. We've all seen so much of him now in the Premier League. We know he can do it, and he's only going to get better as well. So he would be my choice, absolutely. But let me know your thoughts on that and his comments in the comment section below. Okay, as I said, the internationals start tonight, so we've got some football to watch regarding some of our Arsenal players. These are the ones who are in action first. So we've got William Saliba in action for France. They're taking on Israel in Paris. Leandro Trossard, maybe it'd be good for Trossard if he could get himself on the score sheet. Scored against Italy last time out, of course, in the, I think it was 2-2 draw, was it? When Calafiori played. So we're hoping to do that again. It'd be a nice confidence boost for him if he could get a goal on tonight. So they're playing in Brussels, and you've got Gabriel Martinelli playing as well against Venezuela. So 3 Arsenal players in action tonight. Got plenty more over the next couple of days. None for England, of course, as Harry Kane is very gleefully pointing out. But still plenty of international players in action for Arsenal. Fingers crossed they can all come through it unscathed. And yeah, certainly in the case of the likes of Trossard, maybe Martinelli as well. You know, goal would do them the world of good when it comes to confidence. But yeah, I think first of all, their fitness, make sure they get back fit. That is the most important thing. Okay, moving on to a couple of comments and questions from you guys now before we wrap this one up today. Stuo says, Charles, appreciate your comments regarding the chances of coming back and winning the league. We shall see. Can I ask you why you appear so protective when it comes to referees? There is definitely need for an investigation when it comes to corruption and conflicts of interest. I am not protective of referees. Absolutely. They are not good enough in this country. I'm talking what I've been saying in the last couple of days is just that, from my opinion, I'm still of the opinion that it's more to do their quality of actual referees than corruption that is the problem in England and with PGMOL. And yet, absolutely, an investigation is needed into conflicts of interest and everything like that. And I think this David Coote stuff, which is just getting bigger by the day. Obviously, I'm sure you've all seen the latest video that has been leaked of him. You know, something has to come from this. There has to be a root and branch review into refereeing in this country. Why the standard is so poor? Why pretty much all of them come from the same little area of the country, rather than having a massive big pool from up and down the country to choose from. You know, if PGMOL have known about these David Coote videos and they've kept it under wraps, I mean, that has to be investigated. And why have they done that? And so 100%, this crisis, whatever you want to call it, has to lead to massive change in how PGMOL operates. And I really hope it does that. Golfer 5636 says, doesn't matter, Charles. Coote undermined and destroyed the trust of fans. Any team would have his impartiality. Sorry, can't do it. Championship League, fresh start. Yes, Premier League, never. Again, I agree. He can't. He's done in the Premier League. I'm not saying he should come back to the Premier League. He's done. Absolutely. No one's going to take him seriously anymore. Any decision he takes, everyone will look at it with real scrutiny. He can't come back and work in the Premier League. He is absolutely done. But should it be the end of his career? Not necessarily. He needs to be able to go over and still earn a living. He's got a family. He needs to be able to earn a living. I don't think he can do it in the Premier League anymore. I also think he clearly needs a bit of help because he's put himself in some really stupid situations, especially when there are cameras about. And how he's allowed that to happen, I have no idea. And if anyone's sort of pressured him into doing that, or if anyone's used it over him, then absolutely he needs a bit of help as well. So look, I am not sitting here defending referees. I think referees in this country are poor. They're not of a great standard, especially when you go and watch Champions League football and you see the top referees in Europe and how they operate. Absolutely, I'll bring them over to the Premier League. But I don't think it's just a case of bringing foreign referees over to referee here. We have to improve the standards of our own referees. Hopefully, some good can come from this. Now, in the whole PGMOL needs to be looked at, whether it be disbanded, rebuilt, started again, I don't know, but something has to happen from what we've seen over the last week or so in the UK. Chef Shelios, I think that it says, hi, Charles. To your point about Arteta is off to the States to see the Cronkies. He is not just Arteta, the whole management team are over there at the moment. So Richard Garlick, Jason Ito, and Tim Lewis as well. He said, after Edu's departure, Mikel was the most influential person when it comes to football decisions. Who are the Cronkies going to listen to when it comes to new sporting director appointment? Are we doing it again, giving too much power to the manager? It's a very interesting point. I think it's something Arsenal need to definitely be careful of. We got in that situation with Wenger when it was just too much. He just had too much power. Arteta has put himself in a position where he can have a big say, and I think he needs to have a big say in the sporting director because he's the person who's going to be working hand in hand with him. And I think if Arsenal are going to be successful, you need to have a good working relationship between sporting director and the manager. But I definitely think Arsenal do need to be careful to make sure they don't let Mikel Arteta become all too powerful at this football club. They moved away from that when they got rid of Wenger. And I don't think they're back there yet by any means, but they need to be careful that it doesn't happen. There are still some very powerful voices at Arsenal. Tim Lewis especially is a very powerful figure now at Arsenal. Yes, his background is not football. He's a lawyer, of course. But when it comes to that sort of chain of command and the person who's speaking directly from England to the Cronkies, the majority of the time it's Tim Lewis. It's certainly not Mikel Arteta. And if the Cronkies are listening to anyone at the moment, it's definitely Tim Lewis, in my view. But yeah, I get your point, and I do think Arsenal need to be very, very careful that you don't find yourself in a situation where Arteta becomes all too powerful. Because if it all goes wrong and he ends up getting the boot or he ends up quitting, then you're just left with this sort of big power vacuum because the guy who's running everything has suddenly gone, and you're like, what do we do now? And that happened after Wenger. You could see that. And then there was a big power battle. Other people left, and it just didn't do the club any good. It took a few years. It took Arteta coming in and everything to steady the ship, and you don't want that to happen again. So I think it's very, very important. I don't think Arsenal will allow themselves to get in that position, though, I have to say. Right, that's it for today, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I really do appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. Anything you want me to discuss in tomorrow's show, let me know in the comments below. If not, sit back, enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the football later, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.